Shout out to the Quad Club people that watch all 4 videos all day. Thank you guys for watching. Shout out to my brand new Quad heads, the people that are joining the membership of this channel. Thank you for your support. We've got all Supreme Court news on this episode. Boy, do I learn a lot by reading these articles. One thing that I didn't learn a lot from is that Ghislaine Maxwell, this case, they tried to take it up to the Supreme Court, but Supreme Court won't hear the Ghislaine Maxwell case. Ghislaine for sex trafficking conviction appeal she tried getting her case appealed to the Supreme Court. They said, nice try, Democrats. This is a Democrat story. It was always a Democrat story trying to distract MAGA and the Supreme Court, and they said, nope, not news. Once again, the biggest nothing burger that ever tried to deceive MAGA was the Epstein stuff, and now it goes away for good. But the cases that are important, and I mean earth-shattering important, are going before the Supreme Court right now. Okay, here's just one of the dozen or so cases we're going to cover in this episode. Number 1, this is from Family Action. This is Judicial Watch's case. Headed to the Supreme Court is a landmark Illinois case challenging ballots counted after Election Day, oral arguments on October 8th. 2 days from now. You tell me if is this important or not. Now I've got a real quick update on Medicare before we get back to more from the Supreme Court. Millions of poor retirees have lost an easier path to help with Medicare. That's at the New York Times. Changes coming to Medicare Advantage plans in 2026. Providers withdrawing, scaling back plans. Do retirees really need supplemental coverage with original Medicare? Doctors cancel telehealth appointments as Medicare coverage lapses. This is going to lead us straight into my ad read today because this affects all of you. We now know that Medicare premiums are set to rise next year, and many of your Medicare Advantage plans are going away. My seniors are dealing with nonstop robocalls. They're deceiving you. People are trying to deceive you with this annual enrollment period. Call Chapter and let my people help you. There's a number that we're going to give at the very end of this. You've already told me, Chapter's already told me that over 100 of you have called and changed your plans. This is why I've partnered with Chapter. You can trust them to review every plan nationwide and recommend what actually fits your needs. On average, they save my seniors $1,100 a year. The best part is the call's totally free. For free and unbiased Medicare help, call 631-961-8696. It doesn't have to be that confusing. They'll help walk you through it. Just call 631-961-8696. And now back to the show. Okay, first up, here's Trump's big wins that are coming down from the Supreme Court. Major cases are coming.
Some cases are basically overturning past Supreme Court precedent without explaining why. So, Steve, what are the ramifications of that?
So the ramifications, Manu, are massive. I mean, through these rulings, we have seen everything from, federal officers who were fired despite statutes that said they can only be removed for cause. We've seen the president cut the Department of Education by a third. We've seen, hundreds of thousands of migrants lose their temporary immigration status. We've seen transgender individuals dismissed from the military. I mean, the list goes on. But Manu, the really key point is that for as solicitous as the court has been toward President Trump, for as much as those rulings have enabled these actions, the court has said shockingly little in those rulings.
Yeah, the court is not politicizing these rulings, even though CNN is completely freaking out by the wins the Trump administration is getting. Real quick, here's the SCOTUS blog, the official blog, not official blog. It is a fan blog of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court decides to hear cases on gun laws. Does that affect you and I? The Second Amendment? You bet it does. American Indian sacred site and other controversial issues. I'll just go over a little bit of these, okay? The justices also invited the U.S. Solicitor General to file briefs with the government's views on 3 cases in Cotter Corp versus Mazzacchio. The justices have asked the government to weigh in on whether federal nuclear safety regulations trump state laws in a lawsuit brought by 2 sisters who claim to have developed blood cancer. They're going to try and stop, these are environmentalists trying to stop nuclear power in states. We're going to find out. But wait, there's more. Here's a summary on Fox News because they went over the kind of the 4 majors very quickly and very well. Watch this.
So much of the president's agenda is on the line here. And just looking ahead at the issues and the cases, this is shaping up to be a blockbuster term. Let's start with tariffs. This is a huge one, as the Supreme Court will have to decide whether the president's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to invoke those tariffs is legal. Presidential power will also be tested when the justices consider if the president can fire the leaders of independent agencies. And
of course, he should be able to fire independent agencies, or they have no government oversight. So the Supreme Court's going to easily go for Trump on that one. On the previous one on tariffs, that I don't know. It could go either way. Depends on how much leeway they want to give him. It's not a surefire thing, but if they don't allow Trump to have those tariffs, then he's going to have to pay them back. What's the remedy going to be if they find out that he overshot that one? So again, just to keep these simple, they ought to give him that right, but we'll find out if tariffs are going to be legal for presidents from now on.
Several LGBTQ issues are on the docket, including mental health care providers using so-called conversion therapy for minors. And
that's basically trying to get a minor to convert away from the trans issue. It's a big boogeyman word called conversion therapy, where they make it sound like a bunch of religious nuts are trying to get a trans person to accept Jesus or something. It's not it. It's simply, can a healthcare provider try to talk a kid down from believing that they're a wrong-sexed soul in a different body? So can they go against the Democrats? Is a therapist legally allowed to do it if they're a state health worker?
Whether bans on that therapy violate the First Amendment. The court will consider a transgender student athlete bans and transgender Americans using specific gender identity, excuse me, on passports.
So this could be the end of the trans issue across major fronts, because of course, Trump, what we're going to find out is trans a actual sexual identity, or is it a mental problem? If it's a mental problem, you don't give mental problems the right to project their beliefs that they identify as a different sex or a soul born in a different body in spite of it going against all science. Are you going to give them the rights? For instance, if someone believes they're a bunny rabbit, are you going to start giving them constitutional rights? Or if they believe their children are bunny rabbits instead of humans, can they perform surgeries on them to turn them into bunny rabbits, like fuse their DNA based on their beliefs? You know what I mean? Can you put bunny DNA to detransition a kid or whatever? It's a very complicated thing. The Supreme Court is not going to want to touch that, in my view. I think they're going to put the trans issue back into some kind of I don't know if you have to go so far as to call it a mental disorder, but certainly not to defend it as being interchangeable with men and women. Here's more on the Supreme Court.
The High Court could allow IQ test scores to affect whether someone is eligible for the death penalty. And
again, can mentally deranged people kill you? Of course they can. The Supreme Court is not going to allow a low IQ or some kind of a mental disorder to allow you to perform mass murderers. And by the way, everything's going to be an insanity defense. If that's true, Democrats are going to say, he had a low IQ. That's why he shot everyone up.
Past, the Supreme Court has ruled that executing people with intellectual disabilities is cruel and unusual.
Yeah, that's what they used to under a liberal court, and they're going to overturn that.
Usual punishment and goes against the Eighth Amendment. The Trump administration also wants to deny birthright citizenship to children born in the U.S. where at least one parent is not a lawful permanent resident or citizen.
And this is the biggest one with the largest political fallout. This is the big one. The Supreme Court is finally going to look at birthright citizenship. That is, if you're born here and one of your parents is an illegal, do you have a right to stay? This one's going to be tight, and it's going to come down to the conservative squishes, because I think Alito and Thomas will decide correctly. It's what will Roberts, Amy Coney Barrett, Justice Kavanaugh, and Gorsuch do. I think it's going to come down to Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett. Amy Coney Barrett's going to be a tough one on this, I'll admit it, but it really is important to find out Do they have that right? Now, here's the interesting article I found on The Hill about Justice Alito. Alito, originalists, that's us who believe in the original intent of the Constitution, must shed insecure mindset causing worry over desirable results. That is, we're going to have to stop wishing for favored results. That is, ends justify the means, or pragmatism. Originalists do not look at results. They just look at what the original intent is of the Constitution, and so be the rest. I'm going to kind of help spell that out a little bit. From Alito, Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito touched on two lightning rod cases Friday in explaining the pitfalls and promises of originalism. The conservative justice mentioned the Obergefell gets the gay marriage ruling that legalized same-sex marriage, and the sweeping presidential immunity ruling the court handed down last year, as he opined about how adherence to this legal theory of choice can go astray. How so? Originalism, which several justices on the higher court embrace, aims to follow the Constitution as it would have been understood when it was written. And there's no way that it would defend gay marriage when it was written. Okay. Alito described himself as a working judicial originalist. I had not heard that term before, but I'll look it up. Working judicial original, or a judge who strives to achieve originalist aims while working within the framework of our legal system. It's a perspective best understood through the process of elimination, he said, asking the small crowd at the annual conference held by Antonin Scalia Law School Center for Study of the Administrative State to envision an originalist judge driving down a highway with 7 turn signs. 6 of these, in my view, are definitely wrong views. And the 7th presents an originalist judge with an important choice, Alito said. Those wrong turns spanned insecure originalists who refuse to proclaim their desirable results to those who fly too close to the sun, like the Greek mythological figure Icarus. And he got burned and fell to the ground. I think it kind of goes into showing you're going to get in trouble if you don't go the route of an originalist, and often you'll lose all your friends if you stick to your values. I think that is a little bit of a message to Amy Coney Barrett to say, hold tight, be an originalist, don't care what people think about you. And then I've got 2 great moments to end you on tonight. One is, this is the U.S. Homeland Security News Update. Quote, I am pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's by President Trump, Charlie Kirk. They're going forward with this Presidential Medal of Freedom. And this one was a really cool, weird video of Trump saying, you're going to look at the face of Melania Trump here in a minute. It's Trump is on a Navy vessel. So while he's on a Navy vessel, it becomes Navy Force One. Instead of Air Force One, it's Navy Force One. Watch Trump officially declare it. And then the camera's going to cut to Melania Trump on the ship, just on the other side of this wall to the left. Watch this.
Everybody knows this is, as you know, Navy One, by the way, for the day. Only for the day.
Only for the day does it become Navy One while the president is on a Navy vessel.
For one day, it's Navy One, like Air Force One. This is Navy One. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
That was a quick cut to Melania Trump smiling at her husband, declaring it Navy One. She absolutely adores him. So do we. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to call Chapter. That's how you really help this channel out. The phone number is in the link in the description. But most of all, hold tight, Patriots. This is all good news. The Supreme Court is going to run a lot of these very important ones our way, especially birthright citizenship. Keep an eye on that. And I will report on all this. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single episode, because, you know, I will keep you up to date on all these important issues with the Supreme Court. I'm Doug in Exile.